All right, we doing it like this because my integrity will never be questioned. Devin Haney claps back. He says, don't believe that bald-headed uck on my pay-per-view sales. He don't know ish. That's what I want to talk about in this video. Let's talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I told y'all 9-10 times ago, stop ucking with me. Listen, this whole Haney Tank conversation is getting out of control. So far be it from me to not speak my mind in the world of boxing. So Devin Haney, he posted a tweet you see on the screen. Don't believe that bald-headed uck on my pay-per-view sales. He don't know ish, right? So I'd have to believe that he's referring to Leonard Ellerbe, who was one of the people that put it out and said that Haney versus Prograis on DAZN pay-per-view sold 50,000 pay-per-view buys. Now me, I don't work for DAZN. So I told you, I don't know what the exact numbers are. However, you have to look at the situation and see what makes the most sense to you, given the fact that everything's secret. So does what Leonard Ellerbe saying, does it sound far-fetched? And there's other people as well. And that's the irony of this whole situation with pay-per-view numbers. Rick Glaser is supposed to be a boxing insider, right? And he's saying the real Haney Prograis pay-per-view numbers is the low 50,000 pay-per-view buys on DAZN pay-per-view. My pre-fight number over or under was 65,000. We all know piracy is a big problem, but it also had a horrible undercard. A holiday season pay-per-view have never to do good numbers. It says holiday season pay-per-views never do good numbers in the US, which makes sense because it's New Year's Eve, it's Christmas, people, it's Kwanzaa, right? Hanukkah. People are getting ready for the holidays. So historically, you do see a couple pay-per-views like Wilder Fury. I was at that fight. Marquez and Pacquiao, the fourth fight was early December, but those were pretty mega fights, right? This had a good buildup, Haney versus Prograis, but now we're talking about the numbers. He's saying it was the low 50,000. He says Benavidez Andre numbers were 60,000. And that was on pay-per-view on cable. Let's see what December 23rd does in Saudi Arabia. Now, here's the thing. I just told you, I don't personally know what the numbers are. However, people are looking at these numbers and people are reporting certain numbers. Fans are jumping in the mix. When Rick Glaser, who is highly anti-PBC, when he's reporting numbers saying, oh, Tank did horrible numbers, people use him as a credible source. But then now he's saying it to Devin Haney. They're saying, who is Rick Glaser, right? And that's the problem and the double standards that we're running into. Rick Glaser, his numbers are good when he's slandering PBC all the time. But then now he's saying it to Devin Haney and people don't want to report those numbers. That's one issue. So the double standards are outright crazy. And I'm really about to cook y'all. Because like I said at the beginning of this video, my integrity will never be questioned. Some people are saying, oh, how do you know it did 50,000? I'm reporting what is being said. Leonard Ellerbe and others are saying it did this number. Some people are saying it did 200, 220, 230, 250, 350,000. So that's the debate that we're having. I made an unpack, check that video on the channel. But here's the problem. When I asked you guys, where were you getting this higher number, like 300,000 or 150, 200,000, whatever people were saying, somebody said, oh, just Google it. So I did just that, and that's what we're going to talk about, right? So I Googled Devin Haney pay-per-view numbers. What comes up? Fight Hype. Devin Haney does 50,000. Bill Haney responds to the 50,000. Gervonta Davis, right? Boxing News. Haney, Prograis, fizzles, DAZN pay-per-view flops, blah, 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 right? So this is what comes up. Then a few of you sent me this article from the Sportster, right? And now this is where it starts to get real interesting. For starters, I don't even know what the Sportster is. You know, so people are sending me this link. Oh, he did better numbers. It's on the Sportster. So I said, okay, let me check it out. I never even heard of this company. So Rick Glazer, Leonard Ellerbe's numbers are trash, but I'm supposed to believe a website that I've never even heard of. Never once in my career have I used the Sportster for a source, right? So this is the double standards. And the article says Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis buys, pay-per-view buys, expected to outperform Lomachenko. But you know you done ucked up. You see, it says Haney Prograis pay-per-view buys expected to outperform Loma. You know you don't uck up. You know you done ucked up. So here's the problem. This was published 6 days ago. So as of me doing this video, which is today, this article was published 6 days ago, right? So keep this in mind. They published it 6 days ago. You look on the calendar, what was 6 days ago? Oh yeah, that's Sunday, December 10th. So you mean to tell me this Sportster that I've never heard of had numbers for Haney Prograis 6 days ago, making it December 10th on a Sunday, right? And they had the number, and Devin Haney and Regis Prograis, they fought December 9th. So I was at the fight. Regis and Devin fought December 9th in my backyard, San Francisco, December 9th. The very next day, aka 6 days ago, was December 10th. So how, see, y'all want to pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. So I'm asking you, what makes the Sportster's numbers accurate? Especially since they allegedly had it the very next day, right? So I looked at it further. It says Devin secures a blah, 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 right? So we'll get to the numbers. It says the Matchroom boss believes Devin Haney will outperform Lomachenko numbers. I was next to Eddie Hearn. This was before Devin even fought Regis Prograis that Fight Hype did this interview. So this is not numbers. This is Eddie Hearn's forecast of how the fight will perform before the fight with Regis Prograis even happened. It says the Matchroom boss believes Haney will outperform. So how can I go off of numbers that were a guess before the fight actually came back in the data and the details? It says in an interview with Fight Hype, Eddie Hearn reveals that he expects Haney Prograis to sell more than 100,000 pay-per-views. So how is this a credible source if he's expecting a fight before the fight? Anybody, De La Hoya does that all the time. Oscar De La Hoya, he says Ryan Garcia versus, Duarte will do this amount. He said Ryan Garcia and Tank will do 3 million, and it didn't do 3 million. So they're quoting an interview before the Regis and Haney fight even happened. He says he acknowledged the fight won't sell as much as Gervonta Davis. So now we're getting back to the A-side stuff. He acknowledged that it won't do as well as Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. He says in that interview before the Prograis fight, he says, what did Devin Haney and Lomachenko do? 100,000? Which is actually wrong. As you see, Haney Lomachenko says 150,000 pay-per-view buys. And it said the fight did, some sources were even saying it did more than 150,000, right? So back to it. People were saying that, Leonard Ellerbe's numbers are wrong, but then they're quoting the numbers. You guys are sending me this article, and this was of Eddie Hearn's forecast. I'm very optimistic because the numbers at the gate. Some people might say the gate means nothing in relation to the pay-per-view buys, which it doesn't, because the Bay Area came out, and I told you that, and I made videos about it. The crowd was but that doesn't mean people all across in Delaware and Connecticut is going to order your fight. That just means the local area came out to support your fight. It says pretty much most times when you have a strong demand for tickets at the gate, it gives you a good indication of the general demand, which is not always the case unless it's a mega fight, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, right? So y'all are sending me an article with somebody's opinion before the fight even happened. It literally says, and I read the article. That's what some people don't do. They don't read the article. People are just quoting this and Devin did 200,000+, right? That's why I didn't make a video about it, because I didn't hear anything about that until you guys sent me this article. It says, therefore, It is likely that Haney Prograis pay-per-view sales were in the range of 150,000 to 250,000. So again, this article was written, and it was written a day after the fight, aka 6 days ago, which was December 10th, which was the day after the fight. So this doesn't prove that the numbers were in this range. There's no way that I believe you would have got the numbers. And then again, they're quoting what Eddie Hearn expected it to do. But expectations, you can go on a date and expect it to be the night of your life because you've been talking to the girl on Instagram, but then you get there and her breath stinks. So the expectations has nothing to do with the reality of it. So I get it, but Devin Haney, he's saying don't believe him. And it's funny because even Devin Haney, his tagline is, he says something to the effect of, they say everything but let's fight, but you could say the same thing about the numbers. Nobody is coming out with the actual numbers. If Leonard Ellerbe is a bald-headed up and the numbers were way off that he and other people like Glacier reported, but no one's coming out with the actual numbers. But I know one thing for dang sure, there's nobody's going to challenge my integrity. You better do your homework and better do your research, because again, people say they're fair until it's time to be fair. I'm being as fair as possible. I told you when I went to the fight with Devin Haney and Regis Prograis, I enjoyed myself. The undercard wasn't amazing, but the main event, Devin looked spectacular. The building looked lit. It looked like there was a great amount of people there, right? But that's live. Pay-per-view, we're talking about something else. So for all the people who said, oh, Ego, you're wrong, it did this based on an article, you're basing on an article that is an estimation before the fight. And if you don't believe me, you go to the article and actually read it and click on this link to watch the video from Fight Hype. I was right there in that gym when this interview was taking place. So I know. That's why nobody's going to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. And again, it says in the final stanza, therefore it is likely, the day after, it says it's likely Haney Prograis pay-per-view sales were in this range. But that's someone's opinion from a website I've never heard of. Checkmate.